Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Mike here at Gamefromscratch, and today we are going to be looking at a Rust game engine called Comfy. Now, the biggest thing here is it's easy to use. Now, this is actually pretty nice. If you're like me trying to learn Rust, Rust is it's a tricky language for sure, and this framework is about as easy as they get. So if you want to start doing some 2D game development in Rust, Comfy might be worth checking out. This is inspired by other simple-to-use 2D frameworks such as Love2D, the Lua-powered framework, RayLib, and MacroQuad. So I'm a big fan of both RayLib and Love2D. I don't think I've ever used MacroQuad, to be honest. And yeah, that's the idea behind this one. Now, Comfy is free and open source. The one thing you're going to want to know about is the documentation is minimal. There is a little bit of a book to get you up and started, but there's not an absolute ton in there. On top of that, it's got decent features and functionality. It's been used to create a couple of games, so it is battle tested. They made the game Nano Void, and they made the game BitGun Survivors using it, or they're making the game using it. It is a completely open source project available up on GitHub. It is available under the dual Apache and MIT licenses, both of which are very liberal in their usages. And now we're going to go ahead and check out what Comfy is like to work with. Again, you don't really have documentation. That's one of those things just to be aware of. Where you're working from mostly is from these examples. And every once in a while, this is going to bite you a bit, but it's not too bad. So let's go ahead and we will go ahead and create our project. So let me just zoom this on up so you can see what I'm doing. And of course, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to switch into the most important directory on your computer, which would be temp, and we're going ahead and create a new game. So if you do not have Rust already installed Rust. You need Rust and its package manager called Cargo installed at this point. And we're going to create a new game. We'll call this My Demo. My Demo. So like so, just go ahead and create that, and then switch into the My Demo directory. And now we are going to go ahead and add Cargo to it, or add Comfy to it. So Cargo add Comfy. And then it's going to resolve all the various different dependencies. And then we'll just go ahead and make sure that that is working. And we will do a run over here. This will resolve all the various different dependencies we have. And at this point in time, it's pretty much just a hello world application, but let's go ahead and make sure that it builds just fine. So quick recap again, Cargo new project name, switch into the directory that created, Cargo add Comfy, and then Cargo run to actually build it. So one of the very nice things about Rust in general is the build chain does get setting up and running your projects and resolving dependencies, etc. It's about 1,000 times easier than C++ in that regard, especially when you're just getting started. So it's a nice, easy on ramp. There you go. So our application ran. We've got our hello world. We are good to go. So I'm going to go shut this guy down, and let's go open up an IDE. So I'm using Rust Rover today. This is a new IDE from JetBrains team, the makers of IntelliJ, C-Line, and Rider, specifically for creating Rust applications. So yeah, it's in early access preview if you want to go ahead and check that out. Come on over here. Our game is here. It is called My Demo, like so. And let's open it up. And I think it's actually going to complain at me because I didn't do it in snake case, but that's a thing. All right, so here we go. So we are now in our app. It's going to do its resolves. Windows Defender can just shut up. All right, so I'm going to go here into our source code. Here is our main entry point, and let us get to work. So this is it's going to be a very simple example. So we're going to start things off. We'll clear everything out. So I want to use Comfy everything, like so. No main function, that's right, because I'm going to create it still. So simple game macro, my game demo, so the name of your game right here. And then we're going to give it two functions. So these are basically parts of your standard callback functions. So the first one is going to be setup, like so. And we're going to create a context variable. And we're going to make this so we can change it. So this is a mutable variable of type engine context, like so. And there is our setup function. Our next one is going to be update. So this is going to be called every pass through your game loop. Once again, we are going to create a engine context here. So this one is called and mut engine context, like so. And there. So we now have an update function and our setup function. As you're going to see, simple game caused that main thing to go away because your main is hidden away somewhere inside of this macro. So now we have our entry point and two setups. We should be able to run this one and So let's go ahead and set up a run configuration. So and edit configurations, add new, I guess cargo. All right, see if that does it. Let's go ahead and run our demo. So here we go. Building, not much to go on. There is our framework, right? So that's it. Nothing really special going on there. Got a bunch of errors happening in the background, but that was it. So what we've got now, we have our setup code, and then over here we have our main loop. So let's go ahead and draw something on screen. So in our update, this is basically going to be called every single frame. We're going to just do some immediate mode graphics. So we're going to draw a circle on screen. This is a type vector2 0.0, comma 0.0. So that's the center point. By the way, the center point coordinate-wise, 0, 0 is the dead center of the screen. I know that's going to be a little confusing for some of you for sure. So 0, 0, 0, 0, I think it's radius next, so 0.5, it's red, and index. So it's got Z ordering by default, so if you're doing things on top of things on top of things, that is how you handle that. So there we are good to go. Let's go ahead and see how that works. So we will run it there. And there is our red circle on screen, and we're good to go. Now, we're getting a bunch of Vulkan errors. I'm mostly just ignoring them as we go because I don't really care. So that is how you can go ahead and draw something simple on screen. Now, let's do something a little bit more complex at this point, and that is draw a sprite. So let's get rid of our circle over here, and now we're going to need to load in our sprite. In order to do this, we're going to do load texture from bytes like this. It's called GFS, so this is just an internal reference name for the sprite. Now we need the actual graphics, and in order to do that, I'm going to actually need some graphics. So let's just come out of here for a second, over here, and what I need to do is create a new folder, so directory, and we will call this assets, like so, and then we need a couple of assets. So we're going to have two things we're going to use later on. I already have them in place here. So we have our image, and we have a wave file for later on. We're going to just take these and drop them into assets. All right, so we have now GFS and share are in there. So now we can go ahead and load the bytes for GFS. So all caps on GFS there, by the way. So let me just go back here. So we're going to go ahead and say, so let me start that over again. So GFS is loaded. Now we're going to do include bytes macro. And then inside of that, we're going to do the concat macro. And we're just going to build together like a path here, so more or less. So we're going to have environment macro, cargo manifest directory like this. And we're going to concatenate that with, I think I called it assets/gfs.png, like so. So we're basically just saying load up our image, and I think that's it. So our cat close, our thing closed, a semicolon there. So here is how you load an image into memory. Now we can refer to it later on by its key, GFS. So hopefully I didn't make any errors there. I'm not going to make any promises. So now we're going to need a texture for that. So let text colon texture handle, like so, equal texture ID, and then it was called GFS, like so. So basically we're going to get a reference, we're going to get a texture handle using the ID GFS, which we just loaded in over here. And now we're going to go ahead and draw our sprite. So literally it's just draw. So you see here, you got all these draws. It's a lot like RayLib in this regard. You got a whole bunch of just simple draw calls. This is going to be one of those areas where the documentation kind of bites you in the butt though. So you've got these 3 different draw sprite functions. They're all more or less the same thing. But we'll draw sprite here. So we pass in our texture. Next up, we give it the where to draw it. So we'll draw it at the middle of the screen again. So vector2, 0. So literally middle of the screen. Our tint color. So we don't really want to tint it. So we'll go with white. Our Z index, so how to draw it on top of or below other things in the scene. And then this is one of the ones that literally makes no sense to me. So it is world size. This is kind of the ultimate scale of your thing. I'll show you how this works in just a second. But we can just do a new vector2 and make it 10 by 10. Now, I'd love to have documentation on how this world size variable actually works. It's never fully explained. So that's one of those things where definitely some documentation would help you, because otherwise you have to kind of just play around with it until you figure out how the proportioning works. But that should be it. This should be enough to draw a sprite on screen. So let's see how that does. And we will run our examples and find out how many times I screwed up. And I didn't screw up at all. So there you go. So there is our simple example there, our sprite running. That recurring error thing is very blinding, so I'll just get rid of that. So for example, if I wanted to come in here and apply a tint to it, we could do simple things like that. We can also, if we wanted to rotate the sprite, we could rotate it using the draw sprite. So again, there were the other draw sprite options here. This is very similar to XNA, the way it used to do things. So you've got extended options there, and you've got a rotation options as well. But for the most part, draw and sprite should be enough. So there's how you can get your graphics up on screen. Handling audio is a very similar process. So here we've loaded a texture in from screen, for display on screen, I mean. So let's go ahead and do a sound. So from our context, load sound from bytes. Pretty straightforward in that regard. Let me open that one up. So first thing we need is a name. We will call this one, well, what did I actually call this? Snare. All right, so it's a snare drum. So we'll go ahead, snare, like so. And we will do, again, include bytes. So we're going to load the bytes in, same logic. So we're setting the path like that. Env, macro, cargo, manifest, dir. And then, again, our path to it. So we're going to do assets / snare.wavefile, like so. And I think that is that there, but there is one other setting, and that's a settings sound here. And so static sound settings, like so. And we will use the defaults. All right, so there is the logic for loading this guy in. I think comma, close, there. So there we've loaded it in from disk. We have a sound file now available to us. Playing the sound is, again, pretty simple. We just come on down here, and let's do some keyboard handling while we're at it. So if is key down, and then we want to do for the space bar. So I think I can actually just type space in order to figure out. So comfy key code space, like so. So if we press the space bar, we want to go ahead and play our sound. Playing the sound is, again, pretty simple there, and then pass in the ID of your sound, like so. And let's find out if I screwed anything up there. So okay, so I don't have sound recording, so let me just move you closer to the speakers. So that's it. You press the space bar, you play a sound. So that's how easy it is to display graphics on screen and how easy it is to play audio on screen. That white looks, that tint looks appalling. So let me just change that one out. So one last thing we're going to show you is the GUI integration. So there is like a Dear I Am GUI equivalent called eGUI that's been integrated in here as well. So if you need to do like simple UI tasks, this is available for you. So for example, here, it's called eGUI, like this, window, new. So we're creating a new window, and I'll call it my window. All right, so here we go. So create the new window, and then once that is created, we are going to anchor it to line, to top, oh, sorry, right top. So we're going to anchor this window to the right top of the screen. And then here is another one of those things. When it comes to the coordinates, I would love to know what the heck I should be using here, but I'm guesstimating here. So we're going to do this one at, I don't know, vec2 10, 10. Do I have any idea what I'm doing coordinate-wise? Nope, not the slightest. It's not liking something. What am I doing wrong here? eGUI window new. Title my window. That should be fine. Oh, is it an include? Type found. Change type of update to. I'll just keep writing my code. I think eventually it'll sort itself out. So show. So we're going to show the window. So the context is eGUI like this. And then let's do an inline. Oops. I need to hold down shift when I do that. Like so. So this is the method that will be called. And inside here, we are going to say if UI.button exit, like so, dot clicked. So if we click our button, run this code, and all we will do is process exit 0. All right, there we go. So there is simple code to, and I close that off, and I close that off, and all my errors are gone. So one of the things I'm finding very annoying about this IDE, this new Rust-powered IDE, is it does the error warning while you're literally doing things. It's very distracting in my opinion. But so there we go. So we've got a new window being displayed here. Again, the coordinates, I haven't fully comprehended them yet. You're definitely going to want to play around with them, as well as areas where having a little bit more documentation would be nice. Okay, so I definitely screwed something up. Use of undeclared type align to. Do I just need an include? Import. All right, there we go. So let's try that again. So our import is there. Our display is there. Our sound, if I hit spacebar, plays. And over here, we have a little window that we created, like there, so an immediate GUI, and I can click exit, and I can exit out. So the strengths are it's low level, it's free, it's open source, it's pretty easy to use, it's got good examples, and it's battle tested. The downside is it's very young, the API could potentially change, the documentation is minimal, and you're working from examples mostly. I think it's an interesting project, definitely worth being aware of. Again, this is a version 0.2, so give it some time, but as you can see, it's already being used to create 2 games in development on Steam, so it's got more battle testing than a lot of frameworks out there. And the cool thing with Comfy is, in all honesty, if you're looking for an accessible way to start learning and playing with Rust, especially if you're interested in game development, this could be a good pickup because it doesn't have a lot of the complexities you normally see in the Rust ecosystem. And I managed to stumble my way through it, and I don't know squat about Rust. So let me know what you think about Comfy of 2D game development in the world of Rust in general, and I shall talk to you all later. Goodbye.